I was hiding from your mom. My mom is dead. One of the creepiest stories I know personally is from my best friend when he was home at his house babysitting a friend's kid. The kid, whose name was Junior, was roughly 4 or 5, I want to say. His dad was a courier, so would often be doing deliveries late at night. David, my best friend, was a teen by this point, so being home without an adult was no great task. It's important to mention that his father was a pretty paranoid individual who bought into a lot of fear-mongering in the world, so he had cameras set up all over the place. I want to say this happened in 2014. Anyway, David was busy in his bedroom and was minding his own business, but then decided to head into his den, where all the cameras happened to be set up. But the den was locked. David knocked on the door to the den and Junior opened it up. "Why did you lock the door?" David said. "Because of the lady," Junior said. "What lady?" David asked. "Your mom. I saw her in the kitchen." The house's living room was directly connected to the kitchen, and if you were standing in the kitchen entryway, you could see the door leading outside. It was one of those screened-in sitting areas. Junior claimed that David's mother was right there in the doorway. Really strange, especially considering David's mother had passed away just about 8 months prior. David was chilled by the remark, but the skeptic in him knew it was likely just Junior's overly active imagination, so he agreed to go and check with him. He brought a kitchen knife, if I'm remembering the story correctly. He walked with Junior down the hallway into the kitchen where the door was open. The door being open was pretty normal. It was a hot summer day and the house trapped a lot of heat. David stepped out onto the screened sitting area and looked left down the ramp his mother used to use to get outside. Nothing. He looked to the right, seeing the length of the yard. Nothing. Junior was insistent that there was someone there, which is strange, considering usually in situations like these, kids tend to feel better after you poke around for them. David couldn't calm him down. Junior was certain. He kept saying, "I saw your mom. She was here." So David bargained with him. "Everything's recorded on the cameras, so we'll just look on them and we'll know for certain whether someone was there or not." So they sifted through the cameras and David looked for a timestamp around when Junior claimed that his deceased mother had shown up. He stared down all the cameras as the timer ticked on and nothing showed up. But suddenly, he watched as the camera showed a figure enter his backyard from the front by pulling the latch. An old woman, at least in her mid-60s, confidently walked into their backyard. She had a cloth grocery bag in her hand. She headed up the ramp and stood in their screened sitting area for a few moments. She then reached for the door to the kitchen, cracking it open. Then she brazenly stepped inside. After some time, Junior saw her in the kitchen and headed to David to tell him. Based on the camera's timestamps, she stood in the kitchen for at least 10 minutes. The absolutely insane part is, she left as David went to investigate with Junior. The camera footage showed him looking around and her leaving as he looked around. When he looked left down at the ramp where she'd come up, she had already wrapped around and actually took the long way around through the length of the yard. When he looked right, he quite literally just missed her. It was genuinely a matter of maybe a half second. Someone wandered right into his backyard and right into his kitchen, then stood there for 10 minutes in his kitchen doing God knows what. Nothing was stolen, nobody was harmed or anything. Well, anyway, the night went on and nothing came of it. Me personally, I would have phoned the police, but David wouldn't. I think there's a chance that his dad may have had some guns that were acquired through perhaps some non-reputable methods. They were locked away from everyone, whatever small comfort that is, haha. So David's instinct was that his dad would likely be furious about the police being called. Well, anyway, some time passed. Days, weeks, who knows? I'm not even sure how this information came about, but somehow David was told by either a family member or a staff member that the old woman that wandered into the house had dementia and had an episode and just sort of found herself there by a string of coincidences.